The World Nomad Games, if I had to sum it up, is basically imagine the Olympics, but in Central Asia, and the sports include soccer, but all the players are on horses, and the ball is actually a dead, decapitated goat.
I already have questions.
Okay,
But
so that's like one of the bigger sports.
yeah.
I'll explain how that works a little bit later. Other sports, like, they have a lot of martial arts, a lot of jiu-jitsu-esque sports that they had included in the games. There's also intellectual games. So they had board games that people were playing all throughout the week. And then they had the crazier stuff like horseback archery, all different disciplines, Hungarian, Romanian, Eastern Europe, all these different styles of horseback archery. Really cool to see. They had horseback wrestling. There were some strongman games also involved. And then the World Nomad Games also is just kind of like this huge ethnic gathering as well. Because the whole point of the World Nomad Games is it's like reflecting on the tradition and like the culture of the nomadic tribes that live out in Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, that whole Central Asian region. And for me, when I talk about this journey and this event that I went and covered, like I'll like ask people, I'm like, do you even know where Kazakhstan is on a map? And
I don't.
most of the people can't point it out. But it's just a fascinating country that honestly had some of the coolest people, some of the nicest people I've ever met running around it.
How well known is it in America?
So I talked to my buddy who I went and filmed this whole thing with. His name is Zane Jarecki. And we talked about it. And the reason why we really wanted to do this is because not a lot of people know about these events, especially in Central Asia. However, there were American teams participating in the events out there, most notably the USA Kokpar team, which is like the sport I was talking about earlier, the
Dead
decapitated goat soccer. Yeah. And then there was some other Americans, I think, doing archery and horseback archery. And I don't think we had any other representation for some of the strongman stuff. I think it was just archery and that Kokpar game.
So you are competing by country, and any country is technically allowed to compete.
Yes. So the really fascinating thing about this whole event is there was 98 countries over,
wow, so
I think,
big.
Thousands of athletes from all different disciplines from all over the world. And for me, what was kind of stood out was seeing the Russian flag and then people from Russia being allowed to participate in these games. Obviously, the country of Kazakhstan neighbors Russia. So it was really kind of like weird to see because you know how like Russia's been banned from the Olympics in the past, all these other international events. So that was one kind of salient thing that stuck out when I was there. But yeah, like I said earlier, 98 countries, thousands of athletes. This is a global event, but it's just happening on the,
Other
complete opposite side of the world where, we're 16 hours behind.
So in my head, maybe this is because I don't know Southeast Asia or Asia or wherever this
Central
is.
Asia.
Central Asia. In my head, when you explain dead goat soccer, I'm thinking, all right, well, if there's dead goat soccer, then this must be like medieval times and people must be dying in the games. Is it like that, or is it a little bit more toned down?
So you're not too far off there from what's actually happening in the games. The sport of Kokpar and Kokbru, they're two different disciplines of the same sport where you have riders on each team. I think it's about 8 riders or 9 riders. There's a lot of horses on the field at once. And yeah, it's pretty medieval. Like you're just bashing horse heads with each other. Horses are hitting people. There's gnawing of teeth going on. Like people are getting hit in the face. I saw some crazy injuries after the game was over for the USA team, like heads being bashed in, like cuts and scrapes and all this stuff.
Wow.
And obviously there's the danger of falling off your horse and getting trampled. That's a huge danger. So I did see some guy fell off, but he was able to get right back on his feet. And what I talked to about with some of the riders is, especially the American riders, is they said, when you play this sport, you have to have the utmost respect for your opponent because at any moment that you're on this massive horse and you can do damage. So they all have this respect for each other. And also if you're being belligerent and you're doing some flagrant things, you get kicked out of the game. So there's referees.
There is fouls and referees.
There's fouls and referees, yes. So there's referees who are constantly running around the play on their horses, checking to see if you're whipping another player, hitting other players. You're only supposed to be controlling your horse and going for the goat carcass. Like you shouldn't be, there can be some blocking in the backfield, but there's no crazy stuff happening.
And is there medical staff there?
Yeah, there was medical staff. I saw them on the sideline. They were kind of like sleeping in their van. They didn't seem to bother too much. And
I think you told me this off camera, but they did make a switch from literal dead goats to stuffed goat.
Yeah. So, or before we got to Kazakhstan, we kind of knew about this sport, right? Zane and I, my co-host for the show, the guy who was filming, we did some research, and we knew that going into this, it could be, we could be watching a real goat being thrown around, a dead, decapitated goat that is picked up off the ground and then thrown into a goal as basically the ball.
Is the goal like a soccer goal or a basketball
goal?
There's
two different versions of the sport. One of the versions is where the goal is just a circle on the ground and you just have to drop the goat carcass in.
Yeah.
And then the other version is where they have this huge tub and you have to throw the goat in, and it makes for some crazy, in the documentary you see some crazy plays that happen where horses are jumping up on these huge tubs and people are flying around, and it's crazy.
Wow.
When we got there, they used a rubber goat. And I picked it up, it was about 45 pounds. And meanwhile, you have to reach down from your horse and pick it up with one arm and then put it under your leg to run to the goal, which is a feat in of itself. And so these guys are some of the biggest jack guys you'll ever see.
Dude, I have so many questions.
Crazy. Yeah, I know. I could go on for hours about this. It's crazy.
One last horse question, then we'll get into your story. But what do you do on defense?
So I also asked that same question after I watched the USA lose 18-0. I was like, what are we doing on defense? So it's usually what happens is how the game works. I'll explain it to you. Yeah. Big square field. Yeah. All the horses after start of the game, all the horses start on the sideline, right? And then they blow the whistle and they run as fast as they can to go pick up the goat in the middle. And then whoever picks it up or battles for it, whoever gets it, runs to the opposite side to go score. And so the defense, they usually have one horse kind of sitting towards the goal, and they'll try and block the other horse's way and push them outside of the goal so that the other people can catch up and then kind of surround them and then kind of get in there and tussle. So if you don't have a good blocker to push the horse to the outside of the goal, then they're just going to kind of run around and go straight. You don't want them going straight into the goal. That's what happened to us, is our blockers were just too weak. So it's such a fascinating sport.
I'll try to put some footage so that makes sense to the audience.
Yeah.
But now let's get into how you get involved. How do you hear about this? I mean, you have your friend Zane who is involved, and you get there. Tell the story of getting there. So the story of getting there is, it just all happened through an Instagram DM. Yeah.
And so my relationship with Zane is I knew him through college very loosely. I didn't really know Zane too well, but I knew, I saw him he graduated before me. He basically just left the US, went to Europe, and kind of just lived this life, this nomadic life. He walked from Lithuania to Greece. He stayed in monasteries, stayed in communes, Armenia. And at the time he was living in Georgia, in Tbilisi, Georgia, the country right next to Azerbaijan and Armenia. And one day I was in New York and I was going through my Instagram stories, right outside of the, what building, the triangular building. I forget what it's called, but I'm standing right there under this building, looking through stories, and I see Zane's story, and he says on the story, it's I'm trying to find a videographer in Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, go fund my GoFundMe. And I see that message and I'm like, what's he trying to film out there in Kazakhstan? I want to be in on this. So I just DM'd him. I'm like, yeah, whatever this is, I want in. Yeah. I have camera gear. I can edit and produce all of this stuff for you. And, it'll cost you, I'll do it for free if you just pay for my travel, for my lodging. So next thing you know, we're having back-to-back, WhatsApp phone calls, texting each other left and right, figuring out flights just right away. He's like, yo, Charlie, man, I haven't seen you in a while, but if you say you're in, you're in. And so I was just walking around New York, and I kind of had this moment of I could screw myself over for my job here in the States. I don't know if I'll miss out on a big shoot, if something's coming up. And I just kind of I called one of my mentors, and he was just like, dude, go to Kazakhstan. He's like, you'll be fine. And so that kind of like pushed me over the edge to like really fully invest myself. And so when I had that other validation of somebody saying like, dude, you'll be fine, I just like, I have to go to Kazakhstan.
For context too, Charlie is a full-time videographer, freelance, but takes on clients. So leaving to do this fun project means potentially losing clients for him. It's also right after we did the whole Red Bull Can You Make It? So you come home from doing a week trading Red Bull, Barcelona to Berlin, being basically homeless, to let me go film the medieval Olympic Games in Kazakhstan. Exactly. So they go fund you, they get you out. Where do you go, to Georgia first or to Kazakhstan?
So yeah, the travel was kind of crazy. The flights were from Phoenix to New York, New York to Istanbul, Istanbul to Tbilisi, Georgia, and then Tbilisi, Georgia to Kazakhstan. And I did all of those flights, all in one go.
Wow.
And I barely, I got, it was probably a day or two of travel, which it turned out to be because I missed my flight right when I got into Turkey. So I had to stay there for 10 hours in the airport, just chilling in the lounge. And yeah, so it took a while to get there. And I just remember getting on the plane to go to Kazakhstan, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm already this far. And I was just so excited for getting into Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
And it was just like this whole moment of like, I'm doing it. I wasn't worried about what was going on at home. I was just so happy.
And how did Kazakhstan, upon first image, differ from Europe or other international places you have been?
When you say the words Kazakhstan, it just sounds so exotic and so foreign.
Yeah.
But in all reality, the country is a massive country with a lot of people, and they have 90% of the periodic table under them. So they're a massively wealthy country, right? So the capital city, which I was staying in, of Astana, is this kind of like planned capital city, like post-Soviet era, like planned capitalist city. So absolutely just insane architecture everywhere. And when I say that they have like 6 malls and all of them are nicer than like the malls that we have here in Arizona, like I mean that.
And these are some crazy
These are some crazy malls here too, but these are some crazy malls over there. Like when I say crazy mall, I mean world's largest tent mall. On the top floor, there's an indoor beach that's kept at 90 degrees with sand imported from the Maldives. Like this place is, and there's, and also what I said to people when they were like, dude, you're going to Kazakhstan, like you gotta be safe. I'm like, I'm staying like right next to where the Ritz-Carlton is in Kazakhstan, right? There's a Ritz-Carlton hotel there.
Dude, I would have totally thought, like, I'm going to show my ignorance.
Yes.
I would have thought it was poor, dangerous Middle Eastern country.
Yeah. I mean,
that's literally what I would have thought.
You hear the Stan, and also a lot of people have kind of a perception of Kazakhstan through the movie Borat, which Zane and I also explored that whole notion of people understanding Kazakhstan through Borat.
Is that where that movie takes place?
So yeah, the fictional movie where Sacha Baron Cohen stars he's from Kazakhstan, and the whole premise of it is it wasn't filmed in Kazakhstan. He went to Romania to go film the Kazakhstan shots, and then the whole time he's in the U.S., he's like, oh, I'm this Kazakhstani guy who's stupid and
he's stupid. And doesn't he come from like a literal village? Or
something?
From
a village, where there's like goats and stuff running around, and that's not at all the real Kazakhstan. They have some of the craziest electric cars. They're driving around, the Chinese electric cars. They have crazy architecture, everything that you would see in a modern city.
You know what it's reminding me of as you explain it? Yeah. It reminds me of Dubai.
Yeah, I mean,
like the Dubai of Asia.
It's definitely got some of those Dubai vibes with some of the architecture and the just the whole style of the city is just all lit up at night. I describe it as cyber nomad. Because you still have these like Soviet era buildings along with brand new construction. It's just kind of crazy. So just one of the most like fascinating capital cities I've ever seen.
It's really interesting because I have a bunch of digital nomad friends, as I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
And I'm always hearing about Dubai. I'm always hearing about Bali. I'm always hearing about random places in Brazil. I never heard anyone Kazakhstan. But you're making it sound so nice. I'm like, dude, it's now on my bucket list.
Yeah, I know it's not on many people's bucket lists, and for good reason. It's just so far.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's on, when you say it's on the other side of the globe, it is on the other side of the globe.
You obviously looked into it before you went. Were you expecting it to be nice like that, or did it blow your? expectations?
All I did for my research, which I can't lie, I didn't do much.
Yeah.
I didn't have much time to do research.
Yeah.
I got called to Zane, and then 4 days later I was on the flight to Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
So my research was limited to watching a couple of YouTube videos, reading some articles, and the one YouTube video I watched of this world traveler, just seeing him walk around the city, I was just giddy with excitement.
Wow.
Because I was like, he uploaded it also like a month ago when I watched it. And I was like, okay, this place is going to be awesome.
And what's the name of that city?
The capital city is called Astana
Okay.
in Kazakhstan.
And so you get to Astana, you're blown away by all the technology and wealth. Then how does it take me through the crazy stories leading up to the games?
Yeah, so I mean, we get there, check into our little Airbnb, simple, nice apartment.
Yeah.
And the whole week we were there, it was a blur. It was an absolute blur because I was shooting about 12 hours a day, following Zane around. We're trying to craft this story. So also the whole thing about this, we didn't know what story we were going to tell from these games, right? And so first off, I have to tell you how we got the media passes because I don't think I explained that to you.
Yeah.
This has something to do with the Red Bull Can You Make It? So the games are starting really soon, right before we get there. So Zane, living in Georgia, he lives about 5 hours away. He finds out about the games, gets me on board, and is contacting the head of marketing for the World Nomad Games. They speak English. She speaks English. They've been emailing back and forth. And he gets this email. He's like, we have no more media passes left. Sorry. And that's like the day I'm leaving. So he relays that to me, and I'm like, we're going to have to figure some stuff out. So I was kind of a little worried. And then 30 minutes later, right before I get on the plane, he texts me. He's like, we're all good. We've got passes that are better than media passes. So I'm like, wow. So what he did is he basically just told the head of marketing that he's coming out there to cover the games, and he's actually having Red Bull is sending a filmer out there so that they can post it on their Red Bull account because these games are so crazy. And so he's saying that I have like a Red Bull filmer coming out there.
Oh.
And so it's like super funny how, and she's like, okay, that's awesome. And then we get there and like they give us our passes and they don't even care like what we were doing. They didn't even care in the first place. Like the woman who gave us the passes was so nice, and I actually helped out with making videos for the World Nomad Games. They actually became a client, so to speak, when I was there.
Oh, wow.
And so that's really funny. So we get the passes, and we're part of the marketing OC team. And the media, I still have the media passes, really cool looking. And the first day, we kind of figure out, okay, we got these passes, but we also kind of owe the people who gave them to us something. So we're like, we'll make videos that you can post. So right off the bat, I make a really simple like vertical reel that's kind of like fun. It's punchy. It's got some cool music. It just looks really good. And we send it to her. They post it on their TikTok, and it gets within, I think it's 700,000 views within like half a day.
Wow.
Right. So right from that was on the second day I posted that. So right off the bat, all of those views were Kazakhstani people. So right off the bat, the third day we were getting recognized walking around these games. It's really funny. And Zane was also wearing the same outfit too for continuity, and people were like, oh, we recognize you in that video. And the profound thing also about Kazakhstan is the literacy rate and the English speaking rate is massive. So we were walking around, and there's all these volunteers too for the games that are helping us out, helping us translate. And so it all just kind of like, we got there and everything just started to like fall into place, and we're like finding this story. We're running around, we're meeting journalists, going to all these really cool events, eating crazy food. And then the story kind of takes a downhill right after the second day, because that second day I had introduced my body to horse milk, which I've never tried before.
Day 2, you drink horse milk. Why?
So there's this whole village that's part of the games. Like I said, the games are like an ethnic kind of like show as well, to show the nomadic history. So they have this called the Ethnal, which was the ethnic village. And that was like the main village where people would come to see some of the sports. It was right next to the Hippodrome, which is the huge horse racing track, which is where a lot of the games happen. So in the Ethnal, in this village, they had over 1,000 yurts. You know what a yurt is?
No.
Okay. A yurt, imagine a structure, kind of like a teepee tent.
Yeah.
But make it round.
Okay.
Just round.
We'll put a picture.
Yeah. So they have thousands of these yurts, which is what nomads used to live in across the Great Steppe of Asia. And in one of those yurts, we were ushered in to go see what a traditional Kazakh marriage ritual would look like. And in that ritual, we saw singing and dancing, guitar solo, like guitar off. Like dudes like battling to see who can like play the guitar for the longest. And then they also had food and drink as part of the ritual. So they're like halfway through they're doing this, they're like, here, take this bowl of white milk. And we're like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's horse milk. And they're like, here, try this. I'm like, what's this? And like, oh, it's horse meat. So we're sitting in there, this whole stuff is happening. We have this one woman who's kind of like running us through what's going on. She speaks English and she's like, drink, eat. And we're like, oh, okay. And so I drink the horse milk, and to describe it as milk, but make it somehow carbonated.
Ew.
And sour. And
That's
like
disgusting.
imagine like, but like it's still smooth somehow. So it's smooth, carbonated, and like sour.
Seems like a contradiction.
Really weird. Yeah. And the
allow it.
horse meat just tasted like, some like steak.
Really?
So not bad. Where that ends up going is, I don't think it was food poisoning necessarily. I think it was just my stomach was just adjusting, and the flight food and all that stuff was really bad. So I ended up going to the bathroom that night, I think like 16 times. My stomach I've never felt that type of pain convulsing through my stomach before.
Oh, my.
But you know what? I was sitting in that dingy little apartment in like the 7th floor in Astana, Kazakhstan, with Zane right next to me. And he's like, dude, you're fine. I'm like, I know I'm fine. I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm not going to the hospital in Kazakhstan. I was in serious pain.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I just basically took some deep breaths and toughed it out.
Was that through the night, or did you miss
that was
filming?
all through the night. I only got a couple hours of sleep. So I got to like wake up the next day and like get after it. He's like, I woke up the next day and I felt better, and I was like, you know what? I'm here in Kazakhstan. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing, even though I wanted to sleep in.
Yeah.
I really did.
Some Red Bull, can you make it type beat.
And then one other funny fact about that, there's a British team there. Really, really funny tidbit. They were just 8 kids who wanted to go to the game, but they couldn't get tickets. So they just signed up as a tug of war team. Super hilarious, right?
So did they get smashed?
So yeah, they faced against like Russia, Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan. Watching them trying to go up against them was hilarious. But one of the kids for their team got food poisoning the same day I did, and he actually had to go to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
But what ended up happening is the kids, they still wanted to compete. So they went to the embassy, and the embassy just gave him some like 35-year-old like IT guy to go join the team. And we got to watch him,
That's so funny.
get obliterated. But we interviewed him after, and
the IT guy.
He was just like, he was like, what are you gonna do tomorrow? He's like, I'm just gonna go back to work, but it was good fun coming out here today and just tug of war.
Was he from Britain?
Yeah, he's from Great Britain. He works in the embassy in Kazakhstan, and like it's a big deal out there. Kazakhstan and having cultural ties and
so
national
I
ties.
wonder if that was like, I mean, this because you interviewed him, but I wonder if that was like one of the craziest moments of his life.
Yeah, we asked him like, is this like, have you done anything like this? He's like, no. He's like, this is pretty cool. This is definitely up there moment. Like,
but he was playing it chill.
Yeah, he's playing it super chill, like super just chill IT guy.
That's
like,
so funny.
Yeah, he was nice. He was really cool. But yeah, that was just a little side note about how the trip kind of took a turn for the worse with my stomach, food poisoning, whatever, horse milk fiasco. But then after that, I did drink more horse milk. I ate more horse meat the whole rest of the week.
Why?
Because it was like we were in situations where like people give it to us and I'd feel bad if I didn't drink it.
You felt like disrespectful if you didn't.
Yeah. And then also I was like, I'm a really adventurous eater, right? So I knew after that, like after I'd done my business, I'm like, my stomach's fine now. Like I can drink this. And I was totally fine. I also drank camel's milk, which was way worse than horse milk. Don't drink camel's milk.
Well, what did camel's milk taste like?
It tastes like horse milk, but like 10 times worse.
Dude, I can't believe I'm the opposite. I would eat none of it. And then if that happened to me, I would have never touched it with the 10-foot stick. But
no,
I respect you.
I just knew how to power through it.
But you do feel more a part of the culture when you
100%. 100%.
Go in like that.
Especially when you're like in somebody's house in their like living room and the grandma is like giving you this bowl of horse milk and she's like,
what's
going crazy on it. You gotta drink it.
Side story, just because I feel like it's relevant to this, is I have a friend who is deathly allergic to all nuts.
Oh yeah.
And he went to Tokyo on an internship, and people would like they would just offer him food, and he doesn't know how to say.
Yeah,
like
he doesn't know what's in it.
Pull up Google Translate. He had this little credit card that like had pictures of nuts.
It says like no. Yeah.
It's like every nut with a fat X through it, but they'll say no nuts. But the thing is, he's so allergic that if it even comes in contact, or he can't be like risking eating random pastries. They
Not
need
at
to
all.
be.
Yeah. He's like deathly allergic. type
Yeah,
thing.
and so he would have to turn him down every time. He said he felt like such a dick. Like they're like, "Oh no, it doesn't have nuts. Here's the food," and he's like, "I can't,
Still. Oh,
I
yeah.
can't risk it." And I also think too, he was telling me that the allergies in different countries change. Like in Asia, like you know how no nuts is like a common thing. Like, oh, we put no nuts on food or nut free. He was saying in Tokyo they have like peach free, but you've never heard of someone in America having a peach allergy.
No.
So like,
I know that's so. I've never heard of that. Yeah.
so I don't know if nuts were common or not over there, but it was just like double because it wasn't even like a common thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's really interesting
Yeah.
thinking about your experience of turning. Dude, that would be so hard for me because I do not like trying food, but respect to you.
Oh, my favorite experience is just trying new foods.
And then you said there was one experience you told me about off camera where they had like these meatballs, and that doesn't describe them because they're not Italian meatballs, but they're like the dumpling meatballs. And,
Oh, horse dumplings.
or was that Georgia?
Oh yeah, that was Georgia. That was in Georgia, the Kinkali.
Okay,
Well, how you show? Yeah, that's a whole different country.
Whatever. Wait, so what are horse dumplings? Just
The horse dumplings were like that was like one of the first like food we got on like that second day actually.
just dumplings
We were like
with
really
horse
hungry. We
meat.
were really hungry like halfway through the day, and they have this whole little like section of the ethnic village where they're selling food
Yeah.
stalls, and it was really funny. We tried to order skewers.
Yeah.
We waited 30 minutes, and we're watching like all these like giants walk by, and they're just like picking them up and taking them. All these other Kazakh people are picking up and taking them. Like, where are our like
Food.
things that we ordered? So we just decided like screw it, we just give up, just walk away. Like we stayed there for like 40 minutes. We even asked the guy, and he's like, oh. So then we go to this other stall, and then we just get the horse dumplings right away, and we eat them, and they were pretty good. I can't lie. They tasted like some soup dumplings, but just like a funky aftertaste.
That's funny.
And then, yeah, a little other side note, horse milk ice cream, actually really good. Just so you know. If you're ever in Kazakhstan and you want to try a fun ice cream, the flavor palette is like, it's got the best, I don't know what it is about horse milk, but it made it have the best texture like in your mouth I've ever had of like an ice cream.
Bro,
I'm not even lying.
I mean, I'm just a weak eater, but I would feel wrong eating horse meat. It feels like eating something like, I'm not going to put it on the level of dog meat,
Yeah.
but it's like a horse is an elegant creature, and I'm like, I don't want to eat horse meat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's totally understandable. We're coming from this Western viewpoint. But when you live in somewhere like the Great Steppe of Asia, and, you don't have mountain ranges or anything, you have these big roaming hill fields, and, not many other creatures beside like horses out there. Horse becomes a really, really staple part of your diet after so many years. And what they found out is that horse milk actually, we learned this, is that horse milk, or horse meat, sorry, has omega-3 fatty acids in it, which is really crucial for the brain. And the taste of it actually, when you smoke it, is out of this world. And I had some of the best smoked horse meat.
Bro, we're just on that 5-minute glazing horse meat.
Dude,
tangent.
I can't lie, dude. I loved it. It was so fun to have this such foreign food, foreign meat.
I get what you're saying, because I was shocked this summer when someone from Australia told me we're the only country who eats their national animal, which is kangaroo.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that
they eat kangaroo in
Actually,
Australia.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And I guess they see kangaroo as a pest.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that trips me out here is like horses are so integral to the games.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, they're an elegant integral part of the games. Like I'm sure the best horses are bred and they're probably kept, and then it's like they're also just munching on horses, which seems like a weird juxtaposition.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like cows. Like you maybe have like really nice prize cows, whatever that keep around. I don't know, and then you have like the ones that are
I don't know about
the ones that are in
it's
like the
the
crazy
same.
like stalls that are just like don't move and then just get killed for meat. It's kind of like that with horses.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on past horses.
Okay.
You get to day 3, day 4. What develops?
Yeah, so I mean, like this whole story kind of starts to develop when we're there, and we're like, like I said, we got there, we had no storyline. We're like, what are we gonna make this documentary about? And so on this like third day, we kind of have this magical moment where we're trying to interview this really old guy who has, I think it was like a 15-pound golden eagle on his hand, right? He's had this eagle since it was a baby.
Yeah.
And he's this really old Kazakh dude. We want to know his story about, why does he why does he do eagle hunting? Like, does his kids do it? All this stuff. And this woman translator is helping us, and she's like, oh yeah, the eagle is one of the 7 treasures. We're like, 7 treasures?
Yeah.
She's like, yes, the 7 treasures of the nomad. We're like, that sounds cool. What are the 7 treasures? And then she explains the 7 treasures to us as an eagle, a loyal dog, a loyal horse, a fast horse, a fast horse, a smart wife. So that's 4. And then 5 is friendship. And then 6 is family. And then she said the 7th was a bow and arrow, or a weapon. Did I already say a weapon? I don't think I did.
Dude, I'm impressed you remembered the 7. That's
okay, but then we,
awesome.
we started going, we ask other people, and other
we'll
people
put a list of them.
Other people kind of tell us some other variations of it, but we kind of settle on this 7 treasures of the nomad, are the horse, the dog, the weapon, family,
friends,
and knowledge. And then I think the last one was I think we did settle on friendship.
Yeah, friendship.
To kind of craft this story around. So now we have these 7 things, these kind of like 7 chapters. And we're like, okay, this is awesome. Now let's go find all of these treasures.
Before you move on, because there was a little specific point. You said eagle hunting. I was hoping you'd explain that more. Is the eagle hunting for the dude, or is he hunting for eagles, or what the heck is eagle hunting?
So yeah, this is a whole other side bit, but this is really interesting. Falconry is a huge practice, in Middle East and in Asia, Russia, all these other places, all over Europe. Falconry is the practice of going to a nest of, like, say, it's a hawk, an eagle, any large bird of prey. You go to the nest where it's going to be born, and you take it from the nest right after it's born, pretty much.
Okay.
You got to fight the mother. Like, you got to be in somewhere crazy, like crag and like a mountain, right?
Like something highly illegal in America.
Yeah. And so you do that, you get the baby eagle, you raise it. And then I kind of talked to these people, these falconers, like, what's your relationship with this bird of prey? They obviously, there's definitely a bond, but the bond comes with, okay, they're going to starve the bird for a week. And then what they do is they take off the blinders, and the bird's going to go hunt, and it's going to go catch something and might bring it back. Or the bird might just chill there and eat the food, and they'll go retrieve the bird. But like, they have this kind of relationship where, like, they'll release the bird when it's hungry, and it'll come back to them. And then they learn that also the handlers have food too for them. So they're like, okay, go catch something, come back to them. So they use the birds. Literally, they'll be in the mountains. They'll have it on their wrist. They'll throw it, and the bird will go fly, and they'll find the prey and go, and then the big talons will grab whatever rabbit or hare or whatever small creature it can grab. And then, it's this relationship of...
Does the bird share it with its owner?
Yeah. Like, I mean, they'll catch it, it'll hold it if it's a really,
so
well-trained bird. But another tidbit, when we saw in the falconry contest, what they have is they have the guy go up on a pedestal, and they'd throw the bird, and they'd have a target way down this field, and you'd watch the eagle swoop down. It was so beautiful.
So this is one of the games.
This is one of the games. It was a falconry contest. And you see, and it was just awesome. Like the waiting area, you should have seen it. You got like all these Mongolian, Kazakh, Russian, Hungarian guys, just crazy hawks and eagles just sitting around.
This
super
is
cool.
epic.
Super cool, right? And we watched one of the eagles. Dude let it fly. It was like one of we saw all the eagles like fly to the little target that's moving, it stop, and then the dude would walk up and pick up his eagle again. But this eagle just decided to completely say bye. And just flew. It just dipped out of the whole event area, flew towards this like little forest in the woods, and then you saw the guys just get on horses and go chase after it. I don't know if they got it or not. So like,
bro, this is otherworldly.
This is otherworld. This is I mean, this is like what they did back in the day as nomads. They get these birds, and these birds would help them hunt, and like that's crucial to survival. If you have this creature that you can just throw, and it will guarantee you a meal because they're just so intelligent, these birds.
It's like a best friend / hunting partner / it's like almost
but it's like if you don't give me food, then I'm gone, right?
Interesting.
So it's not like I love you.
It's
I want to be with you. This
semi codependent.
Yeah.
I wonder though, the birds, if there was someone a long time, must love their owners.
Yeah, I definitely saw some of these birds. It felt like the way their owner looked at it and like kind of pet it. I was like, these bird and this guy have like slept together, you know. Like,
Do they declaw them? Like, they
no,
must not.
no, not at all.
So the bird could probably mess them up if they wanted to.
Of
A
course.
little
Yeah.
bit.
I mean, I remember holding it with the glove and I could feel the talon like biting into the glove. And I was like, this kind of hurts.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. So that the whole falconry aspect of that was just awesome.
Sorry for that side
Yeah.
tangent, but so you got your 7 tenants, or what are they called?
The seven, I'm like blanking right now. The 7 treasures of the nomad. The seven treasures
of the nomad.
Yes.
And so you're like, let's go with this. All right. Well, this is day 3, 4 by now.
Yes.
Go. Talk
Just
to me, brother.
We're just like full in on this like story now. We're like super juiced. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we got something like substantial to like kind of work on. And we just kind of go throughout the rest of these games, just meeting crazy people, crazy awesome journalists too. That was one really cool aspect about this trip for me, was getting into this thrust in this world of journalism, right?
Yeah.
Because we're hanging out in these media sections, like waiting for the next game to start, talking to this British journalist, an American travel journalist, all these other like Austrian and German, Swiss, all these other, you know, people from all these other countries, and they're all just such cool people and like what they do and why they're like, they were at the Nomad Games too, is like this, you know, this seemed like really cool. And they were all like on the same boat. Like they had no idea what to expect. So getting to be in this world of like journalism and hearing what they were doing and seeing them in action, like asking questions for like story pieces for like the Vanity Fair, other like big, you know, outlets, was really, really, really cool for me to see. Because the guy I was with, Zane, is a journalist. That's his field of study. And so we had a lot of dinners too every night, shared some pints with some really cool people in Kazakhstan, and had some great stories with, you know, these really fascinating journalists. And then this whole trip we kind of like spent with the journalists as well, hanging out with them, this British journalist and this other girl from Dublin, and her boyfriend. We kind of like walked around with them the rest of the trip, and it made it really, really fun hanging out with his dude. His name was Miles, and the other girl's name was Ailish. So Ailish, yeah, shout out Miles and Ailish, and Abdi as well. But yeah, Ailish speaks fluent Russian, so that was a huge help when we like were trying to ask some questions to some people who are speaking Russian. And then Miles was just a really great resource for kind of like getting inspiration, because he's been all over the world, seen some crazy stuff, and just is a really cool, really good talker and knows how to get his point across.
And
so
what
that
was the primary language?
So the primary language in Kazakhstan is Kazakh,
Yeah.
which is it sounds similar to Russian. And I could go on all about like the history of Russia and the USSR and Kazakhstan and the past, but you know, Kazakhstan obviously doesn't want to like be reliant on Russia for really anything. They want to be their own country. So a lot more people there speak Kazakh and English, but predominantly a lot of people speak Russian. So that was, you know, big thing there.
Okay, so you meet with the reporters. You got the layout. You're 4-5 days in, whatever. How do you capture everything? We got the falconry because that was kind of the opening.
So, you know, what a day looked like is wake up, eat some eggs and like beef and have some like instant coffee. Yeah. And kind of go out this, like, we look at the docket of like what games were going on that day and be like, okay, we want to be here for this game at the Hippodrome. And then we want to be at the Ice Palace for this wrestling event or for this other event. And so we kind of planned out our day on like what we wanted to see and like who we knew we could talk to.
But are you also thinking about the, like, which of the tenants you haven't hit yet?
Yeah, exactly. We were thinking about which treasure do we need to get on film, and how can we get a really cool story with a really cool person. That was what we were really focused on. The story within the story was like trying to find characters, and that was something Zane was really good at. And one example of that is like, it was actually the second day we were kind of getting like ushered around with all the other journalists showing all this stuff. And Zane and I were like, we want to get away from, we want to just go find something. So we walk out of the Hippodrome, start walking around, and we end up sitting next to, I think it was like 8 or 9 of these Tassie dogs. And these Tassie dogs are basically greyhounds, but they're like wildly expensive hunting dogs that are just the most beautiful creatures ever. And all of a sudden, this like truck pulls up and it has this baby Tassie dog in the back. But this baby Tassie dog has a broken foot. And then all of a sudden there's a story going on. We're asking people like, how this prized Tassie puppy dog like break its foot at the vet? People are like, oh, we don't know. And they're trying to figure it out. And the next thing you know, we meet the director of the horse hippodrome. His name was, blanking on it now, but really nice Kazakh guy. Doesn't speak any English, but we just happen to find this dude who speaks English to translate for us. And he invites us to this VIP lunch, right? And he's like, come with me. And he's like, you guys are nice. So this VIP lunch turns out to be, you know, basically where like the other presidents and stuff go. So we're like driving there and there's like a presidential convoy like leaving, right?
Wow.
And we get in there to these VIP yurts, crazy yurts that are like glass domed, all this food laid out, huge banquet hall. And we sit down with the Kazakh national like Kokpar team, which is like the most esteemed like horse goat carcass game team. And we're sitting there having this lunch, trying all this food. And it just, the day keeps getting better and better. We meet this like Turkish diplomat and we're talking to him, talking to the Kazakh national team. Everybody's smiling. We're laughing. We're having a great day. And it all just like happened just by us just getting off the beaten path and really just like trying to find a story that nobody else is covering. Like those journalists are like going to go all to the same people, but we wanted to just like get in there, find, you know, the people who are working at the horse stalls, like what do they have to say? What's their life like?
And so what treasure was that day?
That treasure, I think, was that we kind of like did that day was maybe like this friendship, because we made a friend with the director of the hippodrome, and we linked up with him the rest of the week, and he was a big asset for kind of getting us around. And
that was what I was thinking.
It just, I mean, but it all happened because we were just looking for this story that others weren't trying to find. And we were trying to find people that could, you know, really like just tell you something that you've never heard before or show you something that you've never seen before. And so that was our whole mindset that like whole time we were there. Yeah, we wanted to find the 7 treasures, but we're also like, you know, what do these people who work in this event have to say? What do the volunteers have to say? Like, how could we piece together a narrative that has like a little historical context with the local eye, and then also just crazy stories that you've never heard before?
I feel like we're so deep. How long were you there?
So it was about, I think, 2 weeks total. 2 weeks.
So where are we in this story? Like a weekend?
Yeah. So about a weekend, halfway through the event, or a little bit later. And
wait, so then another question before you do that. Does that mean these games are literally like the Olympic Games in the sense that they're 2 weeks?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, it wasn't 2 weeks. It was like, you know, more like 6 days or 6 days, 6 days total. Last biggest game is on Saturday, and that's called Baige, which I'll tell you about here, which we'll finish off on. And then I'll want to talk a little about Georgia, and that's about it. Okay. But yeah, the games are, it's literally, you know, it's the Olympics, but make it nomadic, you know?
It's about a week long.
Yeah. And so all the events are kind of like simmering down towards the end of the week. It's getting less and less events, more towards the events that like everybody really wants to see.
Another question.
Yeah.
So they save the best events for last. I see that. But what, are they counting wins by country like the Olympics? Or?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that's the same
there's
kind
medal
of
count. There's everything.
Oh,
They've
so
got gold, silver, and bronze medals.
Oh, so like it's literally like the Olympics.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I forgot to explain that. Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. Week goes on. Crazy sports, like we're seeing like horseback wrestling. We obviously watch the American team. We interview them. Really fascinating characters. But I want to touch on like how the sports kind of evolved. And the sports kind of evolved more towards horseback stuff towards the end. They got rid of all the strongman stuff and all the other intellectual games. Those kind of finished off. And then it finished off with the horseback archery and then the goat carcass game. And then it finished off with what was called Baige, which was the craziest type of horse race I've ever seen in my life. And obviously, you know how horse racing works. There's jockeys. They go around the track, you know, whichever horse crosses the finish line first, right? So like when you think of like the Kentucky Derby, right? You know, you think, is it a long race? Like, do they do like a one lap or 2 laps?
I wouldn't know, but I've seen horse races.
Yeah, it's like not, you know, they're not running for that crazy long. But this Saturday sport was I've never seen that. I hadn't seen that many Kazakh people filling the stands until that.
So this is the number one.
Yeah, there's hundreds of thousands of spectators.
Sport.
Hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
For this sport, right? So they have about 25 horses, and all the jockeys that are riding those horses are all 8 to 10 years old. And they're riding these horses bareback. And the only other stipulation to this is that they have to race 25 kilometers on these horses. So that's about, I don't know how many miles. It's a lot of miles, but it took about an hour and like 30 minutes, hour and 40 minutes or so, or maybe 40 minutes. I forget. It was like maybe an hour long. Right. But these horses run for about an hour around this huge horse track at full sprint. Right. And so by the end of the race, there was only 5 horses left, 5 kid jockeys on these horses. And the crowd was just electric. I mean, you turn around, like, at American events, like you turn around, you see people like a basketball game, they're eating like corn nuts and like popcorn and drinking soda. None of that there. There's no concessions. There's no hot dogs, no nothing.
Really?
Everybody's
no concessions?
Just locked in.
Drinking?
No.
No drinking?
No, not at all. No drinking.
Really?
No drinking. There's also a large, like, not Muslim, but there's kind of like, it's not, there wasn't like crazy alcohol everywhere.
Okay,
right?
so interesting. I would have thought the culture was drinking culture.
No, not crazy drinking, no. Lots of tea. Really good tea, though. They do a really good job with tea. They got a lot of like black tea inspiration from the UK. But let me finish this. So this is Saturday, the penultimate game, 25-kilometer race, 25 horses start, 5 horses finish, and these 8 to 10-year-old kids, like I didn't realize why they're like competing so hard, but like the grand prize, we were talking to a guy, he said it was $35,000 basically in a car if you win. And then the other first or second and third get like a lot of money too. Wow. Right. And then we learned like most of the coaches are the dads, so the dads will take the car, give it to them, they're older, take the money and like invest it, whatever. But also at the end of this sport, you just see like, we saw like a horse just like drop dead, literally.
Just died?
Just sprinted for 25 kilometers, just falls over and just dies. So like these whole games are just crazy. Just something that you'd never see done here in the US or Western culture. They really took it seriously, and it's been a part of their culture for so long, this sport of Baige, and it's just like it was really crazy to watch and be able to be so close to the action.
Dude, I have so many questions. Like, why is the most popular sport the one with 8 to 10-year-olds?
Because they are the lightest, and the horse can go the fastest with them on it.
But then my other question is, like, why would a horse? Yeah. What can they do to the horse to make it run until death? Like, couldn't a horse just kick off an 8 to 10-year-old? Like,
so yeah, well, like I said, like,
and it's
25 horses start, 5 horses finish, right? So you lose half the field. But halfway through.
But when you lose them, are they kicking the rider off, or are they just?
No, they just kind of like just putter and they just come off the side and they take them off the side of the track. And they just stop. The horses just give up. Because most horses don't want to die.
But one horse was like.
But some of the horses are bred to just
run until death.
Run.
Death or win.
Death or win, literally.
That's literally nuts. Wow.
Yeah. So absolutely crazy. But one thing that I do have to say about Kazakhstan was the people there were just so unbelievably nice. I mean, like, I met a kid there. He reminded me of you. He really did.
Let's go.
I follow his account. He has this like motivational account where he posts stuff in English, and he actually has like a lot of Kazakh followers. And I was talking to him, and he was so lucid with his words and everything he was saying. And these kids seemed like so bright. And so it was really cool to be over in somewhere like Kazakhstan, but I felt like I could just be myself. I didn't feel danger. I felt like people were really genuinely curious about what we were doing there, and I was genuinely curious about what are they doing with their lives. And I had so many great conversations with random Kazakh kids that spoke great English, and that was just really, really, really cool experience to have that far across the world and having conversations about like video editing and stuff like that. And it was really awesome.
Dude, you know what you should do?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen when people go to Abu Dhabi and then they use like #visit Abu Dhabi?
Yeah.
Well, like the tourist boards for all the countries pay people they'll give people
So, yeah.
budgets. Like my friend who does creator camp,
Yeah.
the country Switzerland gave him a budget to promote Switzerland.
Yeah.
You should send this podcast to the tourist herd of Kazakhstan and just be like, hey, I love your country. I'd love to promote it. Because they might, who knows? If wealthy country, they might give you a bunch of money to promote it.
I would love to go back to Kazakhstan, and I'll tell you this, Ron. I don't know if I told you this yet, but I plan on being a competitor in the 2026 Kyrgyzstan World Nomad Games. By the way, this was the 5th World Nomad Games that happened. So
what do you mean, the only 5th? I thought they've been doing it for years.
They have, but not in this capacity of like national.
So they like renamed it and made it a whole thing.
Made it like the Olympics basically, 5 years ago, and got everybody on board. Created a whole like coalition, commissions, all that, all that stuff, all that political stuff.
But it did go on before most of the games were played.
Yeah, I mean what I have to say about these games is they're proxies for war. So what that means is like these horse fights with the goat carcasses, like that would happen in real life. They'd be fighting on horseback wrestling. It's like, the name speaks for itself. You're wrestling somebody else off their horse, but you want to fall off yours. Like that happened. Horseback archery, huge proxy for war. So they've been doing that for so long.
So you were telling me this off camera. So what you mean by that is that
in
the past, these games served as training
exposition, showing just how good these warriors were at what they were doing.
So if it wasn't for training, it would just be what? Let's have fun and see who our best warriors are.
Yeah, exactly. Which has been going on for, forever, obviously.
Wow, that's really interesting.
But yeah, back to the 2026 Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan is where the games will be held. And I'm going to represent the USA and hopefully bring home the first medal for Team USA.
Let's go. It'll tell them what sport you're doing.
Yeah, the sport involves sheep bones, and it just involves throwing a sheep bone at other sheep bones, right? Sounds simple. Not as simple as you think. There's this 10-foot circle. Sheep bones are lined up in the middle of it, and you have to stand outside of this circle and then maneuver your sheep bone in the air and then hit the other sheep bone perfectly. And they're the size of they're about this big. That's really hard to do. Yeah.
That was just a reminder for me to put a picture of a sheep bone.
Yeah, sheep bone. So they don't use real sheep bones anymore. They use 3D printed ones now in the sport. So I'm gonna practice here.
Did you pick up some 3D printed sheep
So I do actually have a sheep bone from Kazakhstan. I could go run and grab it real quick.
Yeah, you might as well run and grab it.
And so
like hold that thought.
2 seconds.
Hold that thought.
Hold that thought. Talk to the camera.
Audience, I don't know. I'm overwhelmed.
I'm back.
I'm overwhelmed with how much there is to know about this.
So this is the sheep bone right here.
Okay,
so this is a real one. This was given to actually Zane by this one Kazakh kid. And I forget what the conversation was about, but it was something about, you'll come back to here or something like that. And Zane was like, of course, I'll take your sheep bone. Thank you so much. And then Zane was like, and then I was telling Zane, I'm like, I want to do these games. And then we kind of talked about it, and Zane was like, Charlie, if I give you this sheep bone, you have to go to Kyrgyzstan. Like, you must. And like we shook on it with the sheep bone in the hand, and I took it, and so this is my ticket to Kyrgyzstan.
Well, it's live now, so if you say it,
I'm doing it.
Don't say it. You gotta be a man of your word.
So yeah, I'm gonna participate in the sport. Why am I just blanking on the name right now? Ordo. I might be saying that wrong.
Okay.
Ordo. And the kids I got to watch out for are the Spanish kid, the Tajikistan kid, and then the Kazakh kid, obviously. Yeah. I was watching them live. I was at the Ice Palace, and I saw the Turkish guy just get demolished by the Tajikistan kid. And it's a very fast-paced sport because you have to throw your bone. If you miss, you got to run and go pick it back up and throw it from the other side. So it's very physical. And it could take, the games could take up to 30, 40 minutes, and you're running. So I really got to be in shape, and I think I'll bring back the first medal for Team USA in these sports. And I'm really excited just to represent my country in something. And
Let's go.
Don't you want to be in the Olympics? Like, haven't you ever dreamed of that?
I mean, I'm trying to make this moment about you, but all I'm thinking is, how can I compete in the World Nomad Games?
Dude,
I'm trying to.
If you wanted to, you could create a tug of war team, have the first USA tug of war team, and captain.
Yeah, because even if you go get smoked, that's just like, think about the stories we have this summer with what I told
And
you
then
off
you're
camera.
there, you can meet so many other people.
It's a forever story.
Yeah.
Like that IT guy who's playing it cool, bro. He's forever gonna be like,
He's forever, yeah.
especially if he's in the
He
US.
he had the biggest smile on his face when we were
Yeah,
doing the
one
game.
time I was at work in Kazakhstan. They pulled me into the World Nomad Game. Like, that's just such a goated story that
Yeah.
I need to, because I probably can only do it while it's small.
Yeah.
I need to just find something and compete in it.
Yeah.
Because that's legendary. But let's,
Yeah.
I don't know how much more you want to talk about Kazakhstan. You want to go to Georgia, or is there any last thoughts?
I mean, there wasn't too much in Georgia, but just like had a fun time and
Wait.
really
I did
cool
want to
country.
ask you,
Yeah.
what was your favorite Nomad game to watch?
Favorite game to watch? Yeah. I mean, there were so many, but the one that was just like really, really engaging had to have been the horseback archery. And watching some of these athletes from Mongolia and Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and seeing just how adept they were with shooting a bow, galloping on a horse at 30 miles an hour.
So the horse is moving while they're
galloping.
shooting.
When I mean sprinting, because they're timed from the start to finish. So if he takes you longer, you get less
Docked
points.
points?
Yeah, you get dock points, and then or you can go slow and be accurate, or go really fast and maybe be accurate. And so, you got
So you
to
can pick your
you got to
strategy.
see all these different types of strategies that were going down and how people were, shooting off their horse in different styles. Really interesting. And then also the horse system there was really funny because, you can't bring some countries brought their own horses, but Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan provided a lot of horses for these athletes. So they had this horse auction where like the athletes would kind of get to pick which horse they wanted. And I heard that was a really interesting day because like, it's really important that you get a good horse.
Wow.
So we had a lot of chat about that. But I mean, yeah, horseback archery was just some people made it look so effortlessly beautiful
Yeah.
with the way they would, run by and then shoot the bow and arrow and hit the target.
Wow.
It was just it was cinematic, and I was standing there. I'm just like gawking at my camera. I'm like trying to film it. And like, I was like, wow, this is awesome. But I mean, there's so many other just cool moments in Kazakhstan, and getting to walk around that city was just, such a weird feeling at night, just in this crazy, huge cyber nomad city. It's all lit up. I don't know, like every corner I take is a foreign corner. I don't know what's going to be around the corner. There could be anything. It's a really cool building.
Do the games have a medieval vibe or more of a futuristic vibe?
So, yeah, I mean, definitely more futuristic. I mean,
Interesting.
you're seeing all the horses and stuff, but like everybody's wearing modern gear. There's modern cameras everywhere. There's drones flying around.
Well, I'm glad I asked that question because I'm sure most people are thinking it's medieval. That's kind
Not
of
at all. I mean, the stands, there was a huge, like I said, the ethnic village had thousands of yurts that were they all had like, there's hologram displays going on in some of them.
hologram.
There was huge, they had these
This
huge,
is so weird because
they had
sports
huge
are
stages everywhere. I mean, massive like productions going on all over the city of Astana.
It's just so weird because the sports are so medieval.
Yeah.
But
The city is so new.
yeah. So wow. All right. Well, run through Georgia and then we'll.
Yeah. So getting to fly back to Georgia to go hang out with Zane at his home base for a little bit. We kind of dumped some footage, kind of started the script, hung out. And Georgia was a really, really fascinating country for me. I had no idea what to expect. Just such an ethnically unique country and how they position themselves as, not part of Russia, and their super unique language, unique way they write. And just this whole city had this really cool vibe of like this bustling city. And I didn't really get to explore it too much, sadly. I spent a lot of my days actually just in Zane's apartment. Like we were just sitting there editing, like working. But we got to go out at night, and I met up with one of Zane's friends, and we kind of hung out at this little bar. And there's this one really cool thing that I was telling you about where if you show you're a man in Georgia, you show how many kinkali you can eat. So kinkali, for those who don't know, is a dumpling. It's like about this big. It's pretty big. And they kind of like twist them. So there's like a twisted top, and then it's like dumpling at the bottom. And you eat the whole meat-filled dumpling, and then you leave the top on your plate. It's just like dough. So that shows how much of a man you are. And I didn't do that many. They're so big. But just like super cool. I mean, there's so many other places in this world that you know, for me, like a lot of Americans, you know, don't know about how much there is to see outside of the US. And that's something like I've definitely been very grateful for. I don't take it all for granted. Like
Me as well.
the abilities that I've had to travel outside the US and how fortunate I've been. And I'm like a person, you know, I do like 20 minutes like GeoGuessr a day. Like when I say I love like the rest of the world and like learning about it, like I really do like love it.
Bro, you are so educated. Like
I'm learning. I want to learn every day. I want to learn something new about this world that I live in, so that I can understand more things. I don't know. It's just great.
I feel lucky because I didn't know how new the digital nomad games are. So 5 years, I imagine with all the camera and TikTok and social media and how crazy these games are, that it will be worldwide pretty soon.
Yeah.
And to have someone like you who went there, witnessed one, and you're just really, truly, because I know because I travel across Europe, you're so educated on history and geography to talk about it that I feel like I'm getting like a unfair exclusive early preview to what is going to be one of the biggest events in the world.
Yeah.
Just cool.
The World Nomad Games are only going to get bigger, especially after I win that gold medal for the Team USA.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. I'm going to take down the Tajik. I'm going to take down the Kazakh. I'm going to take down the Spanish kid.
After you win that gold medal, and you're going to have a film festival gold medal winner.
Yeah.
So for the people, the reason we're doing this podcast is because he has a documentary short film. I don't know how long it's going to be. You haven't finished, but if you're watching this episode, that means that documentary is out now. And I mean, if you stayed this far, you gotta go watch that.
Yeah.
It's linked in the description or wherever you can watch it. I'll link it. It's either out or coming out immediately with this podcast. So go enjoy that. Before we let them go, tell them where to meet you, where to find everything.
Yeah, you can find me. My website is just www.charliesigmund.com. Just my name, Sigmund, just like Sigmund Freud, Sigmund. And then just my Instagram is my name, Charlie Sigmund. Go check me out. But dude, thank you so much, Ozzy, for doing this with me. And shout out World Nomad Games, baby.
Shout out World Nomad Games. And last thing, this cinematic episode, the quality of this podcast is nowhere near my normal quality. It's because this man is a legend. So he's the one who set this up. So go leave a good review on his website or wherever and think about this, and then go to the quality of his short film documentary, World Nomad Games. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie, for joining me.